that sucker starts every time.
That Altoid, Tim?
Yeah.
If you take squares of Levi's, old Levi's.
Yeah.
I did it!
Oh,
There you go.
yay! Look at that.
Yay.
Holy good. Oh, that's cool.
Don't melt down.
Yeah, we're not gonna melt.
The dice table.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. This is Rob with Yoro Adventures. Today we are going to be doing an interview series with our friend Jason Hill, who is part of the search and rescue team here locally, and we're going to be covering some best practices, things to know, and make sure that you're safe when you're out on your adventures, and especially when you're in the wilderness. So, Jason, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have Crazy Bear here as part of the Yoro team, and he's going to be joining us, asking some questions as well. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Jason, you're part of Search and Rescue. Do you want to, kind of explain what that is, and give us a little bit more information about what Search and Rescue does?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been with Cibola Search and Rescue here in Albuquerque, New Mexico for almost 9 years, and I had some friends that had told me about it. They knew I was into the outdoors, that I liked hiking and camping, and I was in the Boy Scouts, and they're like, hey, you can do this, it's all volunteer. And I had no idea at the time. I thought it was like a government agency.
Oh.
But no, at least here in New Mexico, it's completely volunteer. No one gets paid. And so I joined the team. They have some training qualifications. You got to learn some navigation skills, how to use a litter to extract somebody if they're injured, and it was just a natural fit. I liked helping people, and I like the outdoors. So,
but did you find it difficult to get up to speed to be able to be useful in the field? Because it seems like a lot of things you have to learn and know.
No, actually, it was a really fairly easy, quick process. So I already had navigation skills from the military. But the team teaches all the skills that are required. So you have testing for it, but they do all the training for it previous. And it's how to use a map and compass, how to use a GPS. We don't rely strictly on technology. You always have a backup, so you have to know how to map and compass your way through the wilderness. First aid isn't mandatory because we have people on our team that are doctors, nurses, EMTs, and they come with that skill set.
Okay.
And so when there's a mission, it actually goes out to multiple teams. It's not just one. And so you'll get kind of whoever's available at the time, because it's all volunteer.
Okay.
We all have different work schedules. It's no big deal. You show up to the missions you can show up to, and you help out. Our particular team are called ground pounders.
Okay.
And basically we've got about a 35 pound pack, and we are the ones on the ground hiking, looking for somebody that is lost or injured.
Oh, wow.
They also have technical teams, like if they've gone down a cliff or they need to rappel down to get to them, things like that. They have a very technical team. We have dog teams, horse teams, ATV, four-wheel drive. There's a lot of different aspects to it.
Wonderful. So, I imagine somebody gets in trouble and they're in need of help. But how does someone who's in trouble get to people like in search and rescue? Is it something that the local authorities engage, or is it a number that they call? How does that work?
So that's a great question. It all boils down to, hey, I'm in trouble. I call 911. Okay. When that happens, and they say, hey, I'm up in the mountains, and I'm lost or I'm injured, then state police take over, and state police will call the coordinating manager for search and rescue, and then they will collect up the information and put out a call to all the team members. And they might say, incident base is the lower La Luz trailhead or something like that. But yeah, so we fall under state police jurisdiction, and if it's in a situation where maybe someone got injured and they obviously called 911 on their phone, well, once that takes place, they can go to the phone companies and get their coordinates. because now it's an official state police investigation.
Oh, okay.
So they have the authority now to get their coordinates from the cell phone companies, and that gives us a real good idea of where they're at. In a case where maybe someone went out for a hike, or they were collecting sheds in the wilderness and they didn't come back, and a friend or family member called the police and said, hey, their car is parked here, they haven't called me, they haven't contacted us, that's when it gets iffy. That's when we have to assess the situation and just search grid areas trying to find them.
Wow. Do you is this something that you get calls like every week or every month, or how often does this stuff come up?
Here in New Mexico, with our team, we average I'd say 40 or 50 missions a year.
Okay.
It varies. You could go 3 or 4 weeks without a mission and then have 3 or 4 in 1 week. It just really varies. Wintertime, we tend to get quite a few. Because we have the Sandia Mountains, which are over 10,000 feet. A lot of people like to hike that popular trail, but they don't realize that at the very top it's snow and ice packed. The trail's absolutely gone.
Right.
Most of the time they're unprepared, and it takes specialized gear to even get them off the mountain.
Okay.
So.
Crazy Bear, did you have any questions?
Well, I was just wondering, being that it's an all-volunteer group that you're involved with, is your organization set up for training, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, things like that, ski teams, stuff like that?
Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of.
So I am the public relations officer for our team, and we have one thing that's called the Hug a Tree program, and you can hug a bear too if you want. It's just not going to go well. But
source of entertainment, I suppose.
But the Hug a Tree program is designed to teach kids, if they get lost, to basically stay put and not wander off. It originated in California. And I won't go into the details of the story, but a young boy who wandered off, massive search effort, and since that time they put together this video and some training material, and basically just to teach kids, hey, stay put. We have a better chance of finding you than if you're wandering around, because we might search an area, you might wander into that area, and we're not going to go back and search it now.
Right.
And so then we never find you because we've eliminated that.
The basic rule is stay where you're at and we'll come to you. We've been hunting and hiking, and ever since he was a little guy, that was what he was trained. And when his pack was packed, he had enough nuts and apples, and so if I needed to get to him, I had 3 days to do it. But,
super smart. Yeah.
But it's that kind of training. I got it. I'm military myself, so I already had my mindset. So when he and I started becoming more active, I was just wondering if there was more people like that were being active with their kids, or groups, hunting groups. If you're involved with them, people like that.
Not necessarily, private groups, but we have talked about doing stuff with the Boy Scouts. They have survival merit badge. I also teach survival skills, and so we thought we could kind of incorporate all of that training and use that for their merit badge. It's just a good forum, because, and then also once the COVID kind of eases up, I'll be going out to schools and setting up and teaching the kids the same thing, the Hug a Tree program. And the idea with that is they're going to go home and tell their parents, they're going to tell their friends, their parents are going to talk about it with their friends, and the more people we can get the word out to just have some basic essentials that could save your life. It's amazing. Most people think, hey, I'm going to go out on a quick hike.
Right.
I've done this trail 1,000 times. I'm only going to be gone an hour. And they don't ever plan for the unexpected. And that's normally when people need help, is unexpected. And so that's when they have to call us, because they didn't prepare well for that situation.
Right. And I'm a product of Boy Scouts. I got my survival merit badge. I went to Camp Frank Ran and was a
Totem
counselor.
chip.
Yeah. and taught that some of those skills. And I think I've spent enough time in the wilderness where my friends and I, that's all we would do is pack in what we can carry, very light packing, and how to learn how to do it. But it's amazing how you can go from one extreme to say I'm learning how to survive in the mountains, to just being prepared, and how quickly being prepared kind of equates to your survival, right? Because I've been in a situation where you twist an ankle, you think you broke it, and you're 5 miles from a trailhead, nobody knows where you're at, and it's going to take you a day to basically crawl out if you can, and not to mention shock or hypothermia, any of those external variables. So it's always amazing to me that we don't have more of an education system out there. And I see you out there, search and rescue attends, I've seen you at Comic-Cons,
Yep.
Home and remodeling shows, various places in your
Big box stores, the outdoor stores,
Right.
set up outside there. as
Yeah,
well.
matter of fact, Cabela's, I came across your team out there
Yeah.
doing something. and I think it's almost as important as hunter safety for kids that are going for the first time hunting, And
Yeah, I would love to, if I could make it mandatory, like you had to take this class to get a permit to be up on the mountain, it would save us a lot of missions,
Yeah.
And the thing is we love what we do. We're all volunteers, but we're putting our lives at risk every time we go out there.
Mm.
And because what happens is, say someone goes on a hike and they're in shorts and sneakers and they're sweating and maybe they get injured and maybe their phone died because they didn't charge it.
Right.
And now they're out overnight. Well, up on the mountain, it's already 10, 20, 30 degrees colder depending on your elevation.
Right.
Then the wind picks up and you're wet because you're wearing cotton instead of polyester clothing or something like that. And yeah, so hypothermia can set in. You don't have a flashlight, so it's dark. You can't navigate a trail even if you wanted to. And it just compounds and gets
Right.
worse and worse quickly. And yeah, if we could just tell people some of the things that could help them, they would have a much better time. So
Whenever these incidents occur, the person who's out there not prepared, not expecting anything to happen, but accidents
happen.
Accidents. The major training that I've always given whenever I'm in the situation is what to do when it becomes critical. That's the major thing. You're there on a leisurely weekend or a hike, and then all of a sudden it becomes a critical situation. Once you go into a critical mode, how are you going to handle that, and what is expected for you to do, for you and whoever you're with?
Mhm.
The panic mode is probably the biggest problem with these crises, where they're in trouble. Not knowing what to do and going into panic a lot of times creates more damage than if they knew what to do and were calm and collected about it and being able to. So I think what you're doing is really important because, I like to teach that myself. I'm not in a point teaching anymore because now I'm hanging around with my student.
Yeah.
but we had a good time doing it, and we've had several experiences, and thank God, knock on wood, nothing major ever happened to us. But we were prepared,
Yeah.
and we did know how we would do it. And the people that were with us, I felt were in good hands because we did know what to do.
Sure.
Yeah. So
It's just good. It's
Just
good to
learning.
have some preparation going on.
Yeah, well, and that's a great segue because when I talk about preparation, I don't know why, but most commonly I find that people are thinking of gear, right? Like, oh, I have to get the latest and greatest GPS, electronic doohickey, and all this stuff. But what it really boils down to is being aware of your area and the minimal investment of things that you just don't think of, like a box of matches, right? Like in a Ziploc baggie, or various things. And you're the expert in this. I'm just saying, it's amazing how far we go on one side of the spectrum to the other on somebody who's gone through it and understands what prepared actually means. So as a segue into, I know you brought a bag and you want to talk about being prepared. Can you talk to us about some of the what you guys do teach in that aspect or respect?
So as far as search and rescue goes, the state mandates we have certain equipment. We've got to be able to keep ourselves alive for a minimum of 24 hours right off the bat. So that's food, that's water, that's extra clothing, and not just summer clothing. We bring winter clothing in the summer, because if you're out overnight in a cold environment on top of a mountain, it's amazing how chilly it can get. So we always have that gear. And then there's obviously the compass, the GPS, the first aid, a number of different things, signaling mirror, and then most of us carry extra gear for the people we're rescuing. So we have our minimum gear, and then we carry extras to hand off to the people that didn't bring that gear.
Right.
So that's more evident in the winter time, where they just weren't prepared. No gloves, no hat, no flashlight. We carry extra headlamps, things like that. But for most excursions, what I did here is I just have like my little hiking pack. They talk about the 10 essentials, and so I'm just going to pull out some of the stuff that I think most people should have on any excursion.
Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And let's see what we got here. Oh, this is my. I even got a fancy SAR mask
for the COVID.
For the COVID search and rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So, which people, it is a thing, because if we're out rescuing somebody, we have to take into consideration to protect ourselves. So I'll start pocket knife. There's a million uses for a pocket knife. Anyone with survival and preparation will tell you to have one.
Right.
It's just a good thing to have.
I got mine. I carry it with me.
Yeah, I got mine too. We're gonna make this a pocket knife table.
So this is just a rain jacket.
Okay.
100% waterproof. This could do a number of things. One, if it gets cold, it'll trap your body heat and it'll keep your torso warm.
Okay.
If you were out overnight. Rainstorm, thunderstorm, you want to try to keep yourself dry, because again, if you get wet, especially at night, or if the wind comes up, that'll affect your core temperature. But also being 100% waterproof, I could probably scoop up water. I could do a lot of different things. It'll provide shade. If I just need to get out of the sun, I could hold it over my head. A lot of different uses.
A lot of uses.
Yeah. Lightweight. I always have one. Let's see, what else do I got in here? Oh, now this one isn't part of the 10 essentials that you normally hear about, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but sometimes you got to go. You got to go. I like to be prepared, so I've got a little kit here. It's got toilet paper, wet wipes, a bag, to contain everything, and it's in a waterproof bag so that it's not going to get wet even if it rains. But
well, what we learned with the beginning of COVID is the most valuable thing in society is toilet paper, right?
Toilet paper.
You couldn't find it for, probably the first 30 days.
That was kind of crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
water.
Jerks.
I've got a water bottle here. I always recommend bringing more than you think you need, but at least bring some. So,
what is the kind of the rule of thumb on water consumption? Because I tend to pack, a ton of water. A little bit overkill. It's a lot of weight to carry.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, go under. Because when you start getting dehydrated is when you get confused, you get headaches, you get fatigued. So I noticed you pulled out an Angeline or REI bottle. But is there kind of a good rule of thumb to go by?
Not that I know of, because everybody's different. I tend to sweat a lot.
Okay.
Some people don't sweat as much. And so I know for myself, I drink a lot of water. When I'm on search and rescue missions, I have a minimum 5 liters of water in my pack.
Okay.
So this is just like a day hike. I'm going up a quick trail, maybe a mile or two, you know, something short. I'm actually probably going to have 1 or 2 liters. This is more of a visual representation.
Right.
My actual pack would have a water bladder with like 2 liters of water in it, and then I'd probably have a couple more of these.
Okay.
So I tend to pack extra. I don't mind the weight.
Yeah.
But for someone who doesn't want to carry a lot of weight and they're just going out on a quick excursion, you know, at least have a liter of water.
Okay.
Seriously.
Okay.
So let's see. Whistle.
A whistle. Okay.
Very inexpensive, very effective. If you're lost, you know, and people are out looking for you, or you want people to find you, you can whistle and it travels, and it's just a good way to communicate.
And it takes less energy than screaming, because, you know, I've been to a couple concerts, and, you know, you get sore and hoarse, and or if you're hurt, you can't, you know, you just can't catch your breath because you broke a rib.
Yeah.
On that whistle, I'm the oldest of 7 kids. My mother is the oldest of 13, and we spent all our time in the mountains or in the desert, and our way of communication was whistling. My mom taught every one of us how to whistle.
Yeah.
So each of us have our own personality in our whistle, and we have a tone that tells us what we, you know, like the rainstorm hit, the watermelons going down the creek. we know what it means.
Yeah.
But the whistle is really, really important. But my mom made sure that every one of us knew how to whistle, and that was how we communicated. You hear us out, should give the signal that it's time to eat, and would answer, being somewhere wherever it was.
Yeah.
But now I give out whistles because they don't know how to whistle.
Yeah.
And
but we were brought up whistling for communicating.
A lot of these things are so inexpensive and lightweight, it kind of doesn't make sense not to have them.
Right.
Because they're so effective, and you know, it's really good to have.
Yeah.
So headlamps, there's a million different styles and types, but and you might be going out at 8 a.m. for a 2-hour hike. You're not thinking at any point you're going to be out overnight. But again, accidents happen. I know personally people that have twisted their ankle and needed assistance to get off a trail because rocks are slippery. Even if you're on the trail, like not even exploring, but on the trail you can still slip.
Yeah.
And so if you end up being out at night or overnight, having a light source is going to be a tremendous mental boost, you know, because, you know, mountain lions,
it's
bobcats,
scary in the woods at
bears, like, you know, not being able to see is kind of intimidating. So this is a good thing to have.
And even on a moonlit night, the way the mountains are, it shades you out, and it becomes absolute dark. I mean, you cannot see nothing, and that is panic. That's where a lot of the trying to you know, go somewhere, do something, run into a tree or fall into the creek. You know, you've just compounded the situation, and now it's more critical than it was before.
Yeah,
panic.
For sure.
Yeah.
Signal mirror. This isn't as important. We use them in search and rescue. Maybe not for a day hike, but for being inexpensive and lightweight. If you got injured and you're in the backcountry, maybe not even close to a trail, and air support is coming in to look for you. So depending on the circumstances, you know, the National Guard will send out a bird, or state police. This then comes in handy, especially in New Mexico where we have 200 some days of sunshine. You can signal the pilot and they can pinpoint you really well with one of these mirrors, whereas they can't see you in a canopy of trees. You could be wearing bright orange, and it's just extremely difficult from that elevation to see somebody.
Well, even if you're across a canyon, you know, like you're on one peak and somebody, if you just sit there signaling you're stuck, somebody's eventually going to notice it because it's an eye catcher, right? Something flashy, you know.
'Cause a lot
and it
of
takes
times,
no energy. It's the sun.
Yeah.
You
a
know?
lot of times the mirror is to get the attention of someone who's going to help you.
Yeah.
You're sitting out there waiting for somebody to come by to signal. Until somebody realizes you're gone or you're in trouble, you just compounded the problem again. But that mirror will allow you to search for someone who can give you assistance.
Right.
And that mirror is very, very, very important.
Awesome.
All right, so protection from the elements. I carry sunblock, a hat. I just think it's kind of common sense. You know, sunburn will affect your temperature and your body functions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can avoid sunburn, especially here in our climate, it's a big deal. This is one that it's kind of our day and age. So cell phones are kind of an incredible tool
Right.
for people getting in trouble, because if you can call 911, they can triangulate and get really close to your coordinates of where you're calling from. And that helps us be able to like run right up a trail, find the quickest route in to rescue them. But a lot of people don't have enough battery power, or they're calling their friends, they're calling, you know, for help, and the battery goes down, and then we can't stay in contact with them throughout the mission. So these backup batteries to recharge your phone, I think, are super important.
Mm-hmm.
You can get them at Walmart. They're really cheap, pretty lightweight, and so
I have a solar one that I bought. It was super cheap on Amazon.
yeah.
But it doesn't charge the fastest. But if you're going to be stuck somewhere, put it there, and it'll charge in a couple hours.
But I highly recommend an extra battery on a day hike. Okay, so if you get stuck out overnight, having some way to protect yourself from the elements, the cold, so forth, there's a lot of different things. This is a emergency bivvy. It's basically like a waterproof sack that traps, kind of like a sleeping bag that traps your body heat.
Okay.
It's lightweight, and that's an option. But as a second option, if you don't want to go out and buy one of those, this is a trash bag. You know, I learned this in Boy Scouts, and I still to this day teach it and spread the word. This is a contractor size, heavy duty trash bag, so it's a large one. But if I got in trouble, I could poke a little hole through the side, pull it over your head. Don't put the hole in the top, because then if it rains, it's coming down around your neck.
Right.
And but you do it on the front side, and you can kind of poke your face through to breathe, and then you could tuck your knees in and your arms inside that bag, and you could just sit down on the ground, and it's trapping all your body heat. It'll probably keep you from freezing. It'll keep you dry if it's raining, and and you can collect water with it. You could make shade with it. You could do so many things with, you know.
Another thing that you can do with this, and I just learned this not too long ago, is that, and I started carrying extra trash bags in mine if for whatever reason I end up having to spend the night. If I had to, I'd take that extra trash bag and I'd go out and I'd collect leaves, and now I have a pillow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that, you know. Or if you have a couple of them, you have a mat.
Yeah.
You sleep on a mat, not on the ground.
But it's amazing because, you know, just as out of observation, what I'm seeing so far, I'm not seeing $100 items.
No.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm
right.
seeing, you know, the jacket's probably what, $20-$30, and the bivvy, I've not bought
those
one.
are about 20.
20. Trash bag, you buy a box of them for $4 or $5 at Walmart. I mean, in these at Costco, for instance, I can buy a bunch of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's so far they're not an investment issue.
That's the point.
Yeah.
Very, very inexpensive.
What
for the
you're
most
looking
part.
at here is experience, and
Right.
this is what we're trying to get across here, so that whoever's tuning into us, whoever's subscribing to us, has got the information they need to be safe, to be smart, to be careful.
Yeah.
So this is great. I'm loving this because I've got everything you got there.
So he's passing the test so far.
So this is another big one that I highly recommend. This this is a Frontier emergency water filter. They also have the water straws.
So I have
kind
life
of-
straws.
Life straw.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got multiples of those too. Either one.
Okay.
I think they're about $20,
Yes.
but they are so amazing in that this stream right here, if I were to drink from it, chance of giardia, you know, various different things that could give you diarrhea, make you sick. But with this straw, I could literally put it in the water and it filters it.
Right.
And they filter hundreds of gallons mostly for, you know, so it's multiple use.
Right.
But again, you're out in a situation where you got hurt, you're in trouble. Maybe it rains and there's a pool and a rock. That might be your only water source.
Right.
And this will allow you to drink straight from it without any effort.
Well, and that's
You
a
know?
big danger, is you shouldn't drink from water sources that aren't treated. And one of the biggest lessons I learned in being in the Boy Scouts actually was actually a kid who got sick because he didn't realize he was filling his canteen. There was a dead deer in the water 2 miles up.
Yep.
And it had decomposed enough where it was leaking into it. And then years later, I was talking to somebody who also got sick for the same type of situation, that there was farming in the mountain range and the chemicals leaching into the water, into the river was just, you know, it was very dangerous. It put him in a compromised situation more so than what he was already dealing with.
Sure, because you could be dehydrated right now, but if I drink this water and I get sick and then I get diarrhea, that's going to obviously pull more moisture from my body. I'm going to be more dehydrated. I will exacerbate.
Exacerbate, yeah.
Is that a word?
You got it.
Yeah. Out of state
I'm
away from
educated.
Alan,
You
but-
know your slopples. Yeah.
All right, moving on. Just got a couple more. So here I have a compass. Again, you can get them super cheap. There's a million different types. And that can help you if maybe you got lost and you do know a general direction of where you should be going. Like say you're in the mountains and you know that if you go west, you should hit civilization.
Mm-hmm.
That could be an aid. But there's still some caveats to that, because in our Sandia Mountains, there's a reason there's trails. A lot of people like to explore off trail,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of cliffs.
Mhm.
People do not realize that people get cliffed out all the time. They start scrambling and exploring, and then they get stuck.
Mm.
And then that's when our technical teams have to come in with the ropes and the gear and rescue them, because there's just no other safe way to do it.
Yeah.
And so you can't just pick a direction and say, I'm going that way, because it might not be passable.
And it's crazy how quickly you get turned around. And I find I've had to use a compass actually fairly recently. Even with we have a beautiful Sandias in which we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're on one side, it's always going to be east, and your other side is always going to be west, or however it goes. But when you start getting in dips and valleys, and you don't want to have to hike up to a high point to see where direction you're going, because now you're putting all this energy into it.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I carry it's like a $5 compass I picked up, and all I use it for is the direction. You know.
I would suggest that a compass in a pack is always a neat thing, something that's important to have. But I would suggest you go onto these YouTube. There's a bunch of military people out there who teach you how to use a compass properly.
Absolutely.
And if you, I've gone on there a couple of times to brush up on my compass skills, and it's amazing what those compasses do and what you can do with it. And it is a tool. It's an absolute necessity in a pack like yours or mine or anybody who's out off the road. But if you have it in your pocket but you don't know how to use it, then you just created another situation. But if you go to YouTube and you just take a couple of those classes right there, they're free, they're easy to understand, and these people are doing what you're doing. They're teaching you how to use your tools.
Yeah. And in this day and age with technology, there's no reason why you can't go to Google Maps, zoom in on the area that you're going to be hiking, and print it out and fold up that piece of paper and put it in your pocket just as a visual reference. You know, you can highlight the trail. I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff, and they have apps. I have 3 different apps on my phone: All Trails and Backcountry Navigator and Gaia. I mean, there's and some of them have free. You don't even have to pay for them for the basic, and they give you so much information.
They're very powerful.
Super smart to have that on your phone.
And they work offline too, so if you don't have GPS or
absolutely,
cell service.
you can download maps for offline.
Robert and I had an opportunity to go on a caving expedition with a professional spelunking team that was
spelunking. That's a fun word, ain't it?
Yeah, that was associated with Lechuguilla out there.
Yeah.
And they had to do so many training expeditions, and they gave them these caves that they were going to go to in Carlsbad, along the Carlsbad Caverns.
Sure.
And we didn't have any expertise, so we, because of the hard order of training and requirements to go on it, they had 2 openings, and they invited Robert and I to go. I think you were 12 years old, 13 years old, somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that.
And so we went with them. And this isn't the Carlsbad Caverns. These are caverns where the federal government sent us a envelope with a key. Well, actually, there were several keys because we went into 3 different keys. But it was a meets and bounds description of how to go from point A to the cave, and it was with a compass. You had to follow the compass to get.
Yeah.
And it
absolutely.
took you down the cliff and down. And so right there, you know, it was an absolute positive use of that compass. And because we knew how to use the compass, we were able to go to those caves.
Well, and if you had a compass, just for example, I call in, I say, hey, I'm lost, and they call out a search and rescue team, and the incident commander has my phone number. He got it from the state police officer that was in charge of that mission. And he says, hey, do you have your coordinates? Well, you know, you can get your coordinates off of your phone, even if you don't have a GPS.
Right.
So he says, yeah, these are my coordinates. So then the incident commander puts that on a map, and he says, you know what? We are, 37 degrees from you. Take a bearing at 37 degrees and walk to incident base. We're a quarter mile away.
Yeah.
Like, because we know where you're at, you might not in relation to the woods,
right?
But we do, and we could say, hey, if you had a compass, we could direct you directly to us,
Gotcha.
if it was feasible and so
yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
But just as an example.
But it's just a small thing that fits in very small places. Yeah.
So snacks, I have, whatever kind of snacks you want. I have some nuts. Those are pistachios. I love these old goos, for energy. And when you're out, you don't want to just replace your water. You need food. Food is energy, and it helps your body regulate its systems. So even sweating and cooling and those types of things, you got to have some energy. Plus, you can also drink lots and lots of water, and then you're expelling your salts. You need to replace the salts, electrolytes, and things like that.
Calories. I mean, it's
So a couple of small snacks, again, lightweight. I'm gonna crank through these real quick. I've just got a couple more. Here I've got a little multi-tool. This is just maybe an alternative to a pocket knife, but lightweight. It's got a knife. A little Swiss Army knife or a Leatherman, things like that.
Screwdriver, yeah.
You just never know.
Yeah.
And this is one, as a survival instructor, I like to really harp on people to bring some way of starting a fire. I always have multiple methods. And so this one is really easy. This is just regular Bic lighter. And I have it taped up in a little waterproof container so it doesn't get wet.
Okay.
But these work even up to 10,000 feet. And all you do is click it and you can start a fire.
Yeah.
The reason for that is multiples. There's one, if you're out overnight, that fire is going to be for your mental health.
Right.
You feel comfortable when you have light. You feel like it's going to protect me from animals and keep them away. So it's kind of a safety thing, and it makes you feel good. I think from the dawn of time, people have liked campfires. It's also going to signal. If you have a campfire in the middle of the night and there are choppers or people out looking for you, they can spot that way easier, you know? And then if it's an extended amount of time and you had to, say, boil water or cook food, obviously fire is essential for that as well.
Okay.
But for signaling warmth, you know, if it's in a cold environment, you know, you're keeping yourself alive. So I've got a lighter. You don't have to be a smoker. I mean, just buy a lighter. It's super lightweight, super cheap. I also have they're
Ferriman rod.
Yeah, they're called Flint and Steel. This is a ferrocerium rod,
Mm-hmm.
I think is the actual term. And, you know, they cast a spark, so you get a real dry tinder bundle, you know, some moss from a tree, some shavings, you know, whatever, really fine stuff. Get it together, toss a spark in there, and that's going to do it. Another one, they sell this at a lot of the big outdoor stores. It's called Wet Fire, and it looks like a little piece of soap. It's white, it's got the same consistency. You can light it on fire and set it on the water and it stays lit.
Really?
It burns for a long time. It catches a spark super easy. It's petroleum based.
Okay.
And super easy to use and reliable. So I've got, you know, multiple ways of starting a fire.
On that ferrocerium rod, I've had one in my pack, but I've never used it. And I started thinking, I don't know how to use it. So I did get on to the YouTube, and I started following the bushcraft hikers and packers. And I learned how to use that rod. My granddaughter, she's 8 years old. She's got the spark. She's not built the fire, but she's working on the spark of it. So we do have the Bic lighter, we do have the matches, and we do have the ferrocerium rods. But we're learning how to use those.
Yeah.
Because it's a bad situation if you're out there trying to learn how to use it in a crisis situation.
I tell you, so I teach survival skills on the side, and I have a class specifically for fire starting. And if you've never started a fire with one of these, it is not as easy as it looks in a video.
That's
You'll
right.
see somebody, they'll come up with this little tinder bundle, they'll swipe it once, the spark catches, they'll pick it up and blow on it, and boom, fire.
Yeah.
For people that are skilled, absolutely, that's completely doable. It's amazing how many people in my classes, 20, 30 minutes later, their hands hurt, and they're like, I'm throwing sparks.
Maybe I got a broken one.
The material that you're trying to light is as important, they're more important than the spark itself.
Right.
It's got to be the right type of material to catch that spark and ignite.
Right.
The proper air fuel heat ratio. And so
It's an art.
So
Yeah.
training, bow drill, you know.
Yeah. And I've had to start a fire doing that, and that's difficult.
I
very
struggle with
difficult.
it.
Very difficult. Yeah.
You learn about the different materials and so forth. So just all those things I kept in this bag, waterproof bag.
Okay.
If I needed to collect water, you know, and carry it around with me, I could. Oops, mosquitoes.
I know the mosquitoes came out in full force, everybody.
But again, you can get these things at Walmart. They're cheap, and this entire pack weighed 8 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So to me, 8 pounds, and if you added all this up, I don't know, maybe $50. Is your life worth $50?
Yeah.
Mine is. Have you wasted $50 on a lot of dumb stuff?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And not to mention the people
So-
coming to get you. I mean, $50, you know, you're not going to avoid every situation, but $50 can be a big difference of, you know, how difficult and how dire the situation can be.
Being out in the woods is a pleasure. It's a fun thing. But
beautiful
you
out there,
have to
right?
be
Yeah.
able to keep it a fun activity. And if what you've got there will keep you out of trouble if something were to happen.
That's it.
Could save your life.
Well, so you have a lot of stuff that you pulled out of a little bag that I would have guessed is like 16 inches long,
If
8
that.
pounds. And I, again, to reiterate, nothing was more than 20 or 30 bucks an item, and most of it's probably in the low tens or, $5. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is just to drive home a point. A little bit of prevention and preparation can be the difference between a good trip and maybe a couple missteps or a disastrous trip, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, because things can go south really quick, and these items will make that uncomfortable situation just far better until help can get to you.
Right. So, any final questions or thoughts?
I would just like to thank you. I learned a lot, and definitely going to continue being safe.
Absolutely.
Thanks to you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
And just for the folks that are watching this, there's a lot of resources online. Is there I noticed that your group has a website.
Yeah, so cblsr.org is my personal team that I'm on, and we have the 10 essentials listed, as well as other resources. But no matter where you live, you can just go to Google, type in search and rescue. I'm pretty sure every state has a search and rescue team. Most of them are volunteer. Some of them are paid. Actually, you can get a job in that field in some of the bigger national parks. But yeah, normally the requirements are minimal. The training is done by the teams in most cases, and you can be in the field helping people really, really quickly. And if you already love the outdoors and you have a passion for it and you like to help people, then it'll be really rewarding.
Wonderful. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time and doing this. One of the biggest things that I get asked when I'm out is how do I prepare, and it doesn't take much, and I wanted somebody who does this and sees this on a consistent basis, and not me who may only see it once in a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Type of scenario, be able to explain a little bit further. So I really appreciate it, and thanks everybody for watching our video.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And how you help us and support us is making sure that you subscribe to our channel. So please feel free to subscribe. Jason, it's been a pleasure, and thank you very much for
Absolutely.
Thank you,
for
Jason.
having me.
Thank you.
Take care. Be safe, everyone.
Be safe.
Bye.